I heard recently that Lamborghini doesn't advertise on TV. Have you heard that?
I haven't seen any of their advertising on TV, no.
Apparently it's a message to market match. Their clientele do not watch TV. Okay. So hence they don't advertise on TV.
Yeah.
So they have a different way of reaching them. But I think it's so relevant because you've got to decide on your market, and then which is possibly the most important decision you make in business, which is where is the margin, where is the market that you can add the most value, which will then allow you to generate the highest margin, and that obviously gives you net profit, which you can feed back into the business to further ratchet up the value, and then at some point you go out into a blue ocean where you become undeniable.
Yep.
But the marketing channels that you use will be determined by the market.
By
and
your
obviously
market.
With Lamborghini, it's not people watching TV. So I don't know how much TV do you watch at the moment?
I don't have time to watch TV. I watch the footy. I watch the footy on TV. By the way, who's a Tasmanian Tigers member? See, this is the biggest sign-up that any football team's ever had, is the Tasmanian Tigers. Sorry, mate. But no, the only time I watch footy is actually, or watch TV is actually when I'm watching footy. So does that mean I can afford a Lamborghini?
Yeah, possibly. You might be in the target market. But hey, going back to marketing, or staying on the theme of marketing, you've had a bit of experience with education-based marketing. So we're talking a bit about sales process today. Marketing, selling in advance.
Yeah.
And especially in this day and age where you can send out a consistent pulse of quality video and photo content, a lot of that can educate people, and you can build credibility and trust before they even contact you, which is, hence the term selling in advance.
Yeah.
Marketing selling in advance. So what's your experience been with that?
I reckon that content-based marketing, and for those of you that aren't familiar with it, it's basically where you have a database and you actually send out content to prospective clients, and you educate them about building, or about their the process that they'll go through when they engage a builder's services, what they how it works, what they need to do, all that sort of thing. So you're actually giving them information on a regular basis. So the idea is that you have your database, and then you actually feed information out to them. And what that does, it's actually, for me, when I was doing it in my business as a builder, it was the single most powerful and cost-effective marketing tool I have ever seen. So the way that it would work is that we would provide basically a free download of some kind, so some kind of valuable content. It might be about one of the things that we had was 101 kitchen and bathroom design ideas, and so people would download that.
And sorry, they get that from your website?
Yeah.
Social media or both?
Absolutely, yeah. So it was on the website. There was some social media, but we would do a lot of SEO or organic marketing. So basically, it was picked up by Google and going out that way. And the idea was that they would basically download something like that. They then go into a database, and then what would happen is that they would receive an email once a week about everything from what's the best kitchen design for the way you live to 10 renovation gotchas that you have to be careful of as a client, and or how to talk to your builder about what you're trying to achieve. All sorts of tips that will actually help them progress forward and gives them information about it. And what that does is it's really powerful because it helps them get to know the process. It helps them get to understand who you are and the way you work. And it basically takes you from being someone that they don't know, or just another builder, to someone who is very much an expert at what you do. And I got to the record that we had for someone calling us up was 4 years. So they'd been on our database for 4 years, and we just kept on sending out content over and over again. And it wasn't, and it's not. And I want to stress, it's education-based content. It's not crap like, gee, build with us because we're great. It's actually, you're actually helping clients learn how to move forward in the process.
And that builds credibility and trust as well.
Absolutely.
If you're not trying to just sell to them, this is what financial people do. Imagine trying to get people to hand you their money, manage their money. They need to educate.
Yep.
And then people go, this is great content. I've actually got value from this content, and that's how they build trust. So you're doing a similar thing.
Yeah, spot on. And look, I think it's, I should just ask, who in the room is using content marketing? Is anyone using it? Okay, because it's in terms of getting results and really effectively conveying what you can do for people, for clients, and building trust and becoming that preferred builder. I was blown away. I was scared when I was first told about it, and I was first learned about it about 10 years ago. I was told by a marketing agency about it, and I thought to myself, yeah, maybe it might work. I'll try it. Let's see. Put it in place, and nothing happened for the first 3-4 months, like zero. And then on about month 6, I started to notice that I was getting calls from people that were in the database. And all of a sudden the pennies dropped, and I've just gone, this is like a license to print money. It was, every single one of you, if you're not using it, do check it out, because it's phenomenally powerful, and it's very cost effective. Yeah.
And then some of you might be thinking, how am I going to write 50 emails? Because you did 50 emails, or 52, right? One a week for a year.
Yeah.
But you don't need to do them yourself, right? In this day and age, you can find someone to do it for you. There's ChatGPT. I mean, I'd go one step further than ChatGPT, but that's a place you could start, and then you could get someone to tweak it. Find someone who's a good copywriter, who can write something that's highly relevant to your area of specialty. And when someone reads it, they go, wow, this is quality copy, good content.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, even somebody who's done a bit of work for some of the design magazines or Upwork, people on those sorts of places, But try not to be daunted by the producing the information that you push out to people, because there are people, it's the old who, not how. It's about getting someone else to do that. I mean, you're builders, not writers, so get someone else to write it for you, and then you can push it out there.
You would have been one of the first guys to do this, because you did quite a few years ago.
Yeah.
Did you involve any video content in your emails?
Do you know what? I was too much of a tightwad to do that at the time, but I should have, because people consume video more easily. It is. It's easy. It's much easier to click a button and watch a video.
1 minute of video, 10 minutes of reading.
Yeah.
But mix it up with both, I reckon.
Yeah, spot on.
It's a good way to go.
Yeah. Yep.
No, cool. And an educated client is a better behaved client.
Yeah.
And then it saves you a whole lot of time during the sales process. So I told you that story about the guy in Perth that was a commercial builder. He did rapid tilt building. It's like a different process for building very quickly. It was more cost effective. And he would spend hours explaining this to people. And his decision to create an automated education-based marketing system was born out of frustration. Yeah. And he set it all up, and he eventually had a guy contact him, and the guy said, I'm about to buy a property. I haven't bought the property yet, but I want to meet with you. I've seen your website. I've seen your process. I'm really interested. And he was like, this guy's the perfect candidate. He said, listen, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to send you some information. So he opted the guy in and sent him the first sort of lead magnet on everything you need to know about rapid tilt. He said, look, I'm going to send you this. And I think he had some video content in there as well. And then the guy got an update every couple of weeks, or at least once a month. And he didn't hear from the guy. 18 months later, he got a phone call. The guy was like, hey, it's me. I'm ready to go. Could you send me an invoice for the prelim agreement, for the ba. And he was like, who is this? He didn't know who the guy was. And the guy had been receiving all his information, had consumed it all, was genuinely interested. And when he called, he was ready to go. But he understood the exact process the guy was going to take him through. It saved him like hundreds and hundreds of hours.
Oh, that's phenomenal. And if you think about all the questions that clients ask builders, when you first start engaging with a client, they always have 1,000,001 questions, as they should. But if you're able to actually build that into your content, it saves all of that time in doing that. So it just makes your connection with them better and better. So it does get to that point where they call you up and go, oh, g'day, it's Joe Blogs, and you're thinking to yourself, don't know who this is, but you eventually discover that they're actually from your database.
I've seen someone do that actually. Frequently asked questions. just captured all the most frequently asked questions, created video content, and then it had videos go out explaining the answers to those questions. Yep. Plus, so that just eliminates all that, so you don't have to answer those questions again for anyone who watches the content. By the way, if someone doesn't watch the content or read it, they're probably not genuinely interested.
Yeah.
So that's an indication of it. That's qualification. Number one rule for sales right there.
Yeah. I mean, if they're not prepared to invest even 5 minutes just to watch a video, then just move on.
You would do that, like if you're going to buy a new car. If you're going to buy a Lamborghini, like you'd probably read the brochure, right?
I wouldn't see it on TV.
Yeah, exactly. But you'd read the brochure. If you buy a new washing machine, TV, if you're about to drop $5,000, $10,000, $50,000, you're gonna want to read what's going on. So if you put content out in front of someone where they're gonna spend hundreds of thousands of dollars or $1 million on a home, and they go, no, I'm not interested in reading the content, it's too much. They're not buying.
I think that actually ties in with one of the things we were talking about before. If they're not taking on the information from you, if they're not interested in the information and the educational content that you're providing them, they're just kicking your tyres or they're using you as a price checker. Yeah. You know, they're just going, yeah, no worries, yeah, great, I've got someone else over here that I'm actually more interested in talking to.
I had a guy use Loom. Anyone use Loom? Loom? It's just a screen recorder. It's very simple. You just click record, it records your computer screen. This guy opened up his job scheduling tool and he created a video showing people the client portal. So here's where you go, you log in, you go here, click here, and then you can see an update on your project. Here's where you make selections, you click this button, gets approved, blah, 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 blah. So he was educating people on how he communicates with them during the build using his job scheduling tool that has a client portal pre them even going into his sales process. Yep. I thought that was genius. And he's a young guy. This is where any of you young blokes out there, not to bash the older blokes, but if you're all over technology, and this guy is, it was. I was really impressed because I hadn't seen someone do that yet. I'd seen the educating people on what's involved in the build or what's involved in a green home or an eco home. And if you've got a good niche, you can start unpacking the complexity and the detail within that niche. Yep. But
clients love that too. If you're able to sort of open the kimono and show them a little bit about the way your system works, and it makes a huge difference. It's evidence-based that, hey, this guy's got a system, this guy does it this way and does that, that's what I'll get.
It creates an impression, right? That professional, organised, process-driven, tech-savvy, even if you're not, but you just know how to use the basics, it's going to create that impression and give them confidence, build credibility and trust again. So staying with marketing, we touched on it earlier, like networking is one of the most powerful marketing strategies. Relationships important in business and in life, and relationships with the right designers and architects is important from a build perspective. You do custom homes. And I had a young builder, meet with an architect recently because there's a specific process for how you approach architects and designers. And it was a designer that this young builder met with, and the designer said to him, it's so refreshing to meet with a builder who wants to learn about me and my business as opposed to asking for work. Because when they do get calls, if ever, from a builder, a designer or architect, normally it's about, hey, can we work together? Have you got work for me? But this young guy called the designer and said, hey, our business is growing, and the pre-construction phase is really important. And I'd love to find out more about you and your business to see if we're a fit, and if we can refer to you with confidence and we could collaborate to provide more value to our clients, because that pre-construction stage is so crucial. And the designer was like, wow. Yeah. So that was a great way to get in, meet with them. But he was interviewing the designer because there's hundreds of designers and architects in his area. Yeah. If he's working with 5 or 6,
that's a lot
he's
of
doing
work.
10 mil a year, easy.
I think it's really, when it comes to courting architects and designers, I think it's really important that you do actually, you might need to kiss 10 frogs to find the prince or princess. You know what I mean? Like it is worthwhile doing.
It is a process of frog kissing. That's what it is. Because it comes back to the level of moron on the planet versus peak performance, right? Or the quality people. Like, it's just the reality of the world we live in. So you do need to go through that process. We call it an architect blitz, where they, call 50, speak to 30, meet with 20, and then align yourself with 4 or 5. Ideally, the ones with the best quality documentation, good turnaround times, and values alignment. People actually like and can connect with, right?
Yep. Yeah, spot on. And it's a two-way thing. It's all every relationship has got to be a two-way thing, and that you always want to make sure that you're happy working with them and they are with you. And if you've got that two-way thing happening, you've got a sustainable relationship. But if there's not mutual respect on both sides of the fence, it's going to turn in, going to be tears.
You mentioned you guys are doing some paid advertising before. Was it paid or SEO? And then what's your view on organic versus paid?
Yeah. Well, so when I was building, what we did was we started off with generating a lot of SEO content, so organic content. Yeah. And so
sorry, just for everyone listening. So SEO, you guys familiar with SEO? It's your organic listing. You know when you Google something and then it comes up and then there's ads, it says sponsored. That means they've paid to be at the top. And then once you scroll down beneath a certain number of those, you'll just get an organic listing. So that's not sponsored, they haven't paid anything.
Yeah, exactly.
That's SEO gets you to the top of that natural listing, not the paid listing. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, that's right. And so I think with the SEO or the search engine optimization, we put a lot of work into getting some really good information out there. So those articles that I was talking about earlier, pushing that out so that, excuse me, when people did a search on bathroom renovation or kitchen renovation in Melbourne, which is where we were, what would happen is that we were coming up top of the list every single time in the search results, and which was great. Keep in mind, this is about a decade ago. What we were finding that the big plus of that was that it was all based on our content and the way that we worked. So it was great. And people would, when they found us through SEO, they would come to us with expectations that aligned with what we did because we'd produced the content, they'd read it, Google had mapped them into it, and that's the way that they tapped into us. But then what happened was that Google being Google, they changed their algorithm, a number of times. And I actually got to the point where I couldn't, no one can really foresee what Google's algorithm change is going to be, but I couldn't reconcile the sort of stuff we were doing and producing to where they were taking it. So I couldn't get the predictable results of being able to get our search results at the top of the natural search results. And so I thought to myself, all right, well, stuff this. I'll just buy the traffic. So I'll actually start spending money on Google Ads. And what I found with that was that it was as long as you're actually pushing out and you're judicious and you're careful about the way you spend your money on Google and that sort of, because you can spend a bomb, but you can get cost-effective conversions, as in they come to your website from that. But you've got to make sure you've got something that they download once they get to your website, so you've got their email address and you can do the content marketing. But the other thing about the paid advertising is that I did find that the quality of inquiry wasn't quite as good because it wasn't based on the content that we'd written about the way that we work. So we're getting people coming to our website and downloading things and paying, and then that eventually go into that education process. Yeah. But it was a different kind of beast. The customer that came through paid advertising versus the customer that came through the search engine optimization.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what, the quality not as good?
I didn't think so. No. Like they tended to be more price focused, and they didn't quite pick up on the differentiation. So one of the way that we specialised was we were in a metro renovation specialist. So that was the way that we presented our service. And I think what happened was that some of that message was lost when we flipped over to the paid advertising. I'm not saying don't use paid advertising because it is very effective, but it just means that you've got to do your education and your marketing, your education and your qualifications more heavily once they've actually reached out to you, rather than you can't do it before they reach out to you.
And you've got to be strict with your sales process. And I find that we spoke about compliance earlier and getting your team to comply with their KPIs. So you've got to have a job description for your team, ideally, have their key performance indicators, which is that 20% of tasks that are critical path and most impact profit and cash flow in your business. So you've got to know what they are, systemize them, and then monitor performance within those. But I find for most builders, them following the sales process to the letter. So questionnaire goes out, audition call, sending out a frequently asked questions document or video that educates them, a brochure, sending out an agenda, a text message now before the meeting, having a run sheet that they use at the site visit, running through that, sticking to it. I find even the best clients of ours in that 7-figure club, they get a bit lazy with some of the steps.
Yep.
But if the quality of the inquiry is not great, you need to be really strict because you can get caught out.
Yeah.
And it costs time and money. Right?
It does, and it hurts.
And I find, like in this day and age, I don't know what you're hearing, but a lot of people's expectations on costings are way off. So there's more of that beer money, champagne taste type client out there, and managing expectations and then selecting the quality clients that are well educated is becoming more and more important.
Yeah.
So, what was your process for client selection once you went over to paid advertising? Did you have a very clear sort of grid that you looked through and then just went yes, no, yes, no?
Yeah, look, we did. And one of the big qualifications was, as I touched on earlier, we used to always charge for the first meeting. If they didn't come on board with paying for that first meeting because they were getting good value from that first meeting, then that was a really big indicator to me that they were never going to be a fit. And so what we would then do is once they said, yep, we're prepared to pay for that first meeting, we would then actually back it up with a series of, let's say that the meeting was set a week out. Over the following week, we would actually program in 3 or 4 emails that actually set up all the information that they would need to be ready to go for that first meeting. So really sort of pre-warning them or pre-informing them about what the process is going to be, how it's going to work. And then once you arrived there and started having a chat with them, any issues that were going to be an issue to them, they would start talking about them. Yeah. And you'd be able to say, all right, well, in that case, what we'd do is X, Y, and Z. So you could qualify people in that way. But I think the key thing was that we would always, before ever going and seeing someone, we would always, take initially at least a 10-minute conversation with them, just to step through exactly what their expectations were. And qualify them as heavily as we possibly could because it as you say, it can.
I'll tell my guys do 40 minutes. Do essentially what you could on site on a call before you go to do a deep dive, find out who you're dealing with, qualify them further, educate them further. But I like that. It's almost like a compressed client education-based process of automated emails during the sales process, right? In the lead up to a site visit, which is why it's so important to book out 5 days or a week out.
Yep.
Like, I don't know if you guys have had a call from someone who's like, hey, I'm around the corner, just come see me this afternoon. I'm all cash, by the way. They're just going to say whatever it is that they think you want to hear to get you there quickly. And I always say to my guys, no, slow it down. Make sure that you say to them, in order for me to help you best, I need more information. I'm going to send you a questionnaire, get that out. When that comes back, then you do the audition call, book the appointment at least 5 days out so you can drip feed them more information. If you've won awards, if you've got videos about you winning awards, client testimonials, case study testimony is very powerful. You send that out as well, and then help them understand your process and what that looks like. So the fact that you're going to have a cost analysis that they pay a nominal fee for, and a prelim process that's going to help them, all that sort of thing.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, cool. Markup versus margin. What's your take on that? 25 margin, 33 markup. Is that too high, too low?
Well, in the research we've done, what we've seen is that the lower end of that range will sit at around about 13% margin. The upper end will sit at around 33% margin. So pretty much throughout Australia, that seems to be the range that most builders are operating in, and where I think probably everybody in the room will probably sit somewhere within that range. I think if you maybe a good way to think about it is that if you are able to punch above that 25% margin, what then happens is that you can actually begin delivering quality rather than quantity. And so, and creating space for you to think about the way that you run the business, creating space for you to, to manage your business and to run your business rather than sort of working, if you like, in your business. So I think that makes a big difference. Once builders can start achieving some good, strong margins, it does free them up quite a bit.
Yeah, and then they can add more value.
Yep.
And then focus on the client experience, for example, which we spoke about.
Yeah.
Where you can really look at providing like a valet service to your clients with project managers, communicate very proactively, especially with renovations. That's a big thing. If you can take the pain and the hassle of doing a renovation away from the clients and then even make it enjoyable, that is huge. Point of difference.
Yeah.
Game changer.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you know, what's the old expression that that a client is actually buying the client experience from you rather than the build? So in other words, arguably any builder could do the build, but if there's a huge difference between a builder who delivers a pleasant, seamless client experience and the builder who delivers a bumpy ride where all sorts of things go wrong. And so I think looking at it from the perspective of trying to orchestrate a really good, strong, positive client experience is, that's genuine value for clients. And to do that, you do need to charge accordingly. So yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. I know people personally, right? Mainly parents of my kids who will never ever build again. Like, I've had guys say to me, if you had a builder who offered to build for free, I'd say no thanks. Through to guys that walked away from a house halfway through the build, just sold the land, just said can't deal with this anymore. So if you can get the client experience to be just hassle free, that's a huge win. But if you can make it enjoyable, that's next level.
Yeah.
We spoke about Napoleon Hill, and that being the Bible for leadership and personal development.
Yeah.
And there's 16 attributes in there. What are your attributes that you would consider to be the most relevant from a leadership perspective?
Yeah, I reckon from a leadership perspective, it's very much about consistency and trust. So if it's about leadership, then it's about letting everybody around you see that you basically you walk the talk. So so building trust with your subbies, with your clients, with your suppliers, whoever it is. If you're able to illustrate that this is the way that I operate, and you can rely on me and you can trust me, then I think that goes a massive way forward to actually making everybody's life easier. Yeah. Puts goalposts in place so that you're actually saying to you're saying to everybody on site, this is the way I want to run my business. You set the standard in your business. So basically, if you're in a situation whereby you've got allowing contractors or people on site to set the tone and not you, they will always work to the lowest standard that you assert. Do you know what I mean? So I think that is probably a big one.
Yeah, you set the tone, don't you, as a leader of the business? You set the standard and then they follow your lead. But building credibility and trust is as simple as and as complicated as doing what you say you're going to do consistently. Yes. Consistently well.
Yeah. And look, if you ever, for example, feed a client BS in front of a subby, and this is a classic of where the truth. The truth paradigm sort of breaks down. If you BS a client in front of a subby, the subby looks at you and goes, "Oh, you just BS the client," and what it does is it erodes the trust that the subby has in you, and so so if you can always try to treat everybody with that consistent honesty,
How important do you find decision making? Like as far as leadership goes, obviously walking your talk's a big one.
Yeah.
Being able to make a decision and stick to it, that came out of Napoleon Hill as well.
Yeah. When you said that, I was reflected on the way I make decisions, and I don't reckon I make decisions quickly. Mm-hmm. Once I make them, I stick with them, but I don't make them like some people have a personality type where they just make the decisions really quickly, and rightly or wrongly, it'll work out or it won't. Yeah. I think what I probably tend to do is if I'm thinking about trying to make a decision in a particular direction, if there's any way that I can do a pilot test of something, so say for example using content marketing, I might try it for 6 months and see if it works, and then launch into it all
Scale
hollis
it from
bolus.
there.
Yeah. So I no, it was interesting when you were talking about that. I thought, I wonder if I do that, but I think I do. I commit to the decision, but I don't do it quickly.
Yeah. So you do thorough due diligence beforehand, and then lock in.
Yeah.
There's a case for quick decision making as it relates to understanding your values and knowing what you want.
Yep.
I mean, if you use like a dating example, you use deal breakers. Like if you don't want someone who drinks alcohol or takes drugs, you don't have to do an analysis, a spreadsheet analysis. It's just like, no thanks. It's the same with your clients.
Yeah.
Like if you, or prospective clients at the front end with your marketing, your sales process should quickly and easily identify the people you don't want to deal with and the people that are going to come through.
Yep.
But I know what you're saying. Yeah, there's certain decisions that do require some time, some analysis. Maybe look at some data and then sleep on it, then come back and then decide.
It's interesting the way a night's sleep changes your perception of a situation.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
absolutely. Just to wrap this one up, artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
Tell us about your experience with AI so far. I don't know, we asked the guys before, ChatGPT. Who's using ChatGPT? Anyone? It's still relatively new, but there's some real benefits there. What have you seen?
Yeah. So look, with ChatGPT, and that's like the baby steps of AI, if you like. So it's really it's so at the moment you can use it for generating content, you can use it for writing letters, you can use it for a variety of things. So you might have 10 bullet points where you can actually load it into it and say, hey, turn this into a letter, turn this into a rejection letter, turn this into whatever it needs to be. And so you can get it to actually write difficult pieces for you. And then you can, once it does that, you can go back through and tweak it and give it your own particular nuances. So it's quite good for that. It's also good for writing ad copy. You can use it for that sort of thing. So there's a whole variety of basic things there. Then at the other end of the scale though, and I think this is where it starts to get, and I'm with AI, I'm both amazed by it and terrified of it, for various reasons. But at the other end of the scale, as far as builders are concerned, I think where it will really come into its own is actually a time when you'll be able to be out on site and you'll be putting an opening in a wall and you'll look at it and go, I've got a 3.2 metre span and I've got a tiled roof. And you can actually say, all right, I've got a 3 metre span, tiled roof. What size lintel do I need to get put in there? And you can actually verbally say that into your phone, and then it comes back with the actual measurements, what it's going to be. Okay, so that would be, there's no product around like that at the moment, but that's where it will go. Okay, I'm in Glenorchy. How far back from the boundary do I need to build in order to do whatever? So all of these random questions that aren't really random, but they're highly technical questions. They will become a standard thing that you can ask of your phone, and so that's where it will be. And I expect we're probably at least 5 years off that, but it's just we're going to get closer and closer and closer to it. So, so I would really encourage you guys to have a chat. Start with something like ChatGPT, and ask ChatGPT about something that you're familiar with. Ask them about, I don't know, ChatGPT, tell me how do you select a builder? And it will come up with some information about it. But
get it to write you an article. On everything someone needs to know about doing a renovation in Tasmania, in Melbourne, in whatever. Just pick a location and then get really specific with the prompt. You'll be amazed. It does it in seconds.
Yeah.
One of the ways my clients are using it, I send them examples of marketing material, of sales process, documentation, 9, 12 pages of frequently asked questions.
Yep.
They'll take it, especially my younger guys, they actually showed this to me. They just take the document, cut and paste it, put it in ChatGPT and say, make this better.
Yep.
And it generates another better version of that.
Yeah.
Within seconds as well.
Yeah.
They just run all our marketing content through ChatGPT.
It's incredible.
And you can get someone else to do it for you. You can go to Upwork and find someone, just send them all the PDFs and the Word docs and say, hey, run this through ChatGPT. Tomorrow morning it's all done.
Yep.
You can take it and use it, send it to a graphic designer, they sexy it up, and then you're off and away. So that's possible now. I'd recommend you do that now. But I've heard that the people in business, not just this industry, but any industry that embrace AI now, and just get a basic understanding, will be at a point when it does really get to become a real powerful thing that's sort of dominating the planet. I heard yesterday that they are predicting the next president of the US will be AI in 2034. Because it's unemotional, it won't be, they can program it to make decisions, and they reckon it's possible, where we can just know that it's going to make the right decisions, right? So there's that. But what happens is, once it gets to 3 or 5 years from now, the people that embraced AI early, the early adopters, will have an unassailable lead on everyone else. So it's worthwhile pushing past the burn, stretching the grey matter, but it's not even that complex. You just cut and paste, put it in. And try, like you said, just ask it some questions.
Yeah. And I think what you'll see over the next couple of years, there will be more and more engagement that you will have with AI. So, for example, in our ProCalc's chatbot, we've just implemented an AI chatbot, and what we do is we basically, if you ask a question, it actually automatically answers the question for you. And we've been training it to do that, and of course it's answering the questions about 50% right now. The other 50%, we've actually got to follow up with the user and say, hey, by the way the chatbot answered that question, we don't think you should do that. You should do this. And so we've got to train it as we go. So AI has this amazing mythical capability in the future, but getting there it's all trial and error to get there. So it really does become a case of, if you do engage with some software that has some AI in it, do that. Just check. Just always keep an eye on how it's managed. But at the end of the day, if you start using it now, what it means is that, in 2 years' time, when it becomes a more mature technology, it's just going to be. It'll be much easier for you. It'll just put you in a better
like
place.
A fish to water, yeah. And
yeah,
test
exactly.
it.
Yeah.
Throw something in there that you know something about. When I first heard about it when it came out. I remember we were at Palm Beach on holiday. It was December, January. So like 14 months ago. Yep. And my daughter told me about it because she heard about it, and then she brought it up and she said, check this. She typed something in. She said, write me an essay, an 800-word essay on blah, 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 blah. So I was like, okay. I grew up in South Africa. I said, okay, write me an 800-word essay on the Battle of Blood River, why it happened, what the consequences were for the Zulus and the Boers, whatever. And within seconds, it wrote, and it was all like spot on. I was like, wow, okay.
At about the same time, I actually asked ChatGPT to write Daniel Andrews, who at the time was the Victorian Premier, to write his resignation letter. and it responded with, who's Daniel Andrews? So it didn't know.
If you're not a big enough celebrity.
Yeah. So, but I think if you were to give it the same thing now, because it's had almost 18 months of learning, it'd just do it like that.
I'll put in what is the best business coaching firm for builders in the world, and Builders Coach came up second. I was blown away. I saved that. It didn't the second and third time, but hey, I'll take it. All right, guys, we'll leave it there. Thanks
Good on
for
you. Thanks,
mate.